On Maundy Thursday, we remember Jesus meeting together with his friends to celebrate the Passover, but also for Jesus to say goodbye to his friends. At a gathering like that, a servant, the most lowly servant of all, would usually wash the feet of those arriving. Jesus took on that role himself, reminding his disciples then and us today of God's upside-down way of doing things. The king taking on the role of the lowest servant. Having washed their feet, Jesus gave some instructions to those who were with him. Love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love one for another. Some of his final words to his followers were telling them to love one another. They were telling them how important love is, and that others will look to see how good a job they do at sharing love. The love that Jesus is talking about, the love he demonstrates himself in the most powerful of ways, is sacrificial love, the love that puts others first. Over the past year, we have seen some amazing examples of self-sacrifice. Some widely celebrated, many possibly not even noticed. There have been stories of key workers risking their health by working on the front lines. Tragically, there have been far too many examples of NHS staff, care workers, transport workers and others who have died from COVID-19, catching the virus whilst continuing to serve others. There have been tales of people like Captain Sir Tom Moore with his walk and 11-year-old Max Woozy, who has spent the past year sleeping in a tent to raise money for his local hospice as they were struggling to fundraise during lockdown. But there have also been those whose sacrifices haven't made the news. The parents who have juggled working from home and helping their children with home learning, going without sleep or free time. The people who have gone without a treat themselves so that someone else could have what they needed. The people who chose not to socialise even when it's been allowed so that they would protect a family member who was vulnerable. All the millions of acts of kindness, acts of sacrifice that we've witnessed over the past year have brought hope and even joy in a dark time. I think we've all seen examples of love and care that have made us smile and recognise that there is still good out there. The sacrificial love of Jesus demonstrated in our Maundy Thursday reading, in the simplicity of washing the disciples' feet. But that simple act of humility and service was shocking and unsettling, as we see in Peter's reaction. We all know of the ultimate self-sacrifice that Jesus made on Good Friday, the sacrifice of death, the sacrifice of separation from God. Most of us are uncomfortable with true sacrifice, both when it's offered to us and when it's asked of us. We don't like to admit that we need something from others, and we don't particularly like it when loving costs us something either. But that's the kind of love that Jesus modelled for us. That's the kind of love that Jesus asked of those first disciples. And that's the kind of love that Jesus asks of us today in the 21st century. Jesus' love wasn't cheap. It was costly. Following Jesus shouldn't be comfortable. Yes, it's comforting, but not comfortable. Loving as Jesus calls us to love isn't convenient. The love that Jesus was talking about isn't just the love that puts a few tins in the food bank box. It's a love that asks questions about why we even need food banks anyway, and then does something about it. The love that Jesus was talking about doesn't look like being nice to those we naturally get on with. It's the love that offers true kindness and grace to the people we don't particularly like. The love that Jesus was talking about isn't just the love that makes us feel good. It's the love that feels challenging to offer. The love that Jesus was talking about isn't easy. The love that Jesus was talking about looks like a million different acts of kindness and self-sacrifice, ranging from the seemingly insignificant through to the newsworthy. But together they all contribute to showing others God's love, and they all contribute to bringing about God's kingdom. We are all called to live out that life of love and sacrifice. And what that looks like will be different for each one of us. I don't know exactly what that looks like for you, but I do know that at times it will feel hard. And I do know that it's the best way we can live. And I know that when we live this way, amazing things happen. As we look ahead to the world opening up again post-COVID, how can we contribute to growing God's kingdom through living and loving as Jesus did? What sacrifices might we make in terms of how we live, what we spend our time doing, what we put our energy into, how we spend our money? It might not be easy, but it is worth it. Jesus didn't find it easy. We know that after the Last Supper, he went off to pray, wrestling in prayer about what he knew was going to happen. Jesus was only able to do any of what he did because of his connection to God. Let's use this Easter to deepen our connections to God so that we can receive the same strength that Jesus received, so we can follow Jesus' example of true love and live it out ourselves.